not going to tell somebody in an email that like, oh
Right.
yeah, actually my Illuminati handler told me, whatever.
Right.
So just, keeping that in mind. After a March 1st email from a psychologist expressing concern about whether Fauci was being censored, he responded, quote, "I can assure you that I am not being censored." As the former president's time in office began to wind down, aides restricted how much Fauci could appear on television to offer warnings and disinvited him from briefing Trump in the Oval Office. Their turbulent relationship stands in stark contrast to President Joe Biden's elevation of Fauci to chief medical advisor, a role where he's been free to promote public health advice without scorn from the Oval Office. During his first press conference under the Biden administration, Fauci signaled the days of overconfidence and loose facts were over. Quote, "One of the things new with this administration is if you don't know the answer, don't guess," he said in January. "Just say you don't know the answer."
Yeah. What's funny is this is an article about how great Fauci is through the lens of his emails. And then at the end, they just like, oh, yeah. And then he said this thing during a press conference. And here's some good stuff about Biden.
End of article.
Yeah.
By the way, there's like there's nothing that suggests there's anything worth questioning other than.
Not even paying attention to. No, forget questioning.
Yeah.
Nothing of note in the emails except for, wow, Fauci is really a generous, hardworking guy.
He's working so hard. He's not getting enough sleep.
So glad we had this FOIA request come out so we can know how generous and such a good guy he is.
I mean, I guess, CNN must know their audience at this point. And it's almost like they're just writing to confirm whatever bias exists in their audience's mind. Because there's just there's no
it's
objective.
Just a feel good. It's a feel good article for CNN lovers where they can go, oh, okay, good. Let me just sit here and read things about Fauci. It's the same reason why they still are writing negative Trump articles.
Yeah.
Not because they're like important or really anything of note. It's just, I need a little pick me up. Let me go on CNN and just read mean things about the bad guy that I don't like.
Yeah.
Which is not actually news. It's entertainment is what it is. And that's what they say. It's a puff piece. They wrote a puff piece based on very important freedom of information requests, leaked emails. Like, okay. So it's the only thing new here is that, he wasn't getting very good sleep at the time.
Well, let's swing the pendulum to the other side. I just picture me grab the pendulum ball there, and I'm swinging. I'm passing it to you, Basil. Big old swing, and
wow,
boom!
Look at that! Such a way of with words painting a picture of a beautiful metaphor. Let's say here, NewYorkPost.com. Let's see what the other side has to say. The headline reads, Fauci told Chinese official they would get through this together. Email reveals. That is a funny headline. Fauci told Chinese officials they would get through this together, which on one hand is kind of like, oh, that's sweet. What a great image of global cooperation to defeat an evil virus enemy. But read through a different lens, it's collusion. Fauci colluded with the Chinese officials. It reads like this. Dr. Anthony Fauci corresponded with a Chinese health official early in the pandemic, acknowledging the crazy people in this world and vowing to get through this together, a new report revealed Tuesday. The nation's top expert on infectious diseases. Now, of course, they're starting out with this Chinese thing because it's a nice little trigger for everybody who is now aware that the Chinese see there is evidence to show that the coronavirus was engineered in a Chinese lab, the same Chinese lab that Fauci approved funding to, and also, chatting, saying we're going to get through this together. The nation's top expert on infectious diseases received an email March 28th, 2020 from George Gao, director of the Chinese Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, in which Gao apologized for saying the U.S. and other countries were making a big mistake by not encouraging people to wear masks from the get-go, according to correspondence obtained by the Washington Post. Quote, "How could I say such a word, big mistake, about others? That was journalists' wording. Hope you understand," Gao wrote Fauci. Quote, "Let's work together to get this virus out of the earth." Wow. The director of National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases responded, quote, "I understand completely. No problem. We will get through this together." The correspondence came as Donald Trump blamed China for the coronavirus outbreak. As Fauci faced criticism for his handling of the pandemic, Gao reached out again. Quote, "I saw some news. Hope it is fake, that you are being attacked by some people. Hope you are well under such a irrational situation," Gao wrote, April 8th, 2020. 3 days later, Fauci replied and thanked his longtime friend for his kind notes. They are really
they're playing up. It's funny how they play up the other side of like how Fauci was cozying up with the Chinese officials here.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. They're like, okay, maybe he was a good guy, but look how generous he is with the Chinese officials. It is nice to know that even Fauci, in all of his hardworking generosity, still takes 3 days to answer an email.
2 words.
Yeah.
Or 4 words, maybe. Thanks. Or 5. Thanks for the kind note.
Quote, "All is well despite some crazy people in this world," Fauci wrote, the newspaper reported. You know, of course, we've seen tons of reporting on these emails. They all really play up this "all is well despite some crazy people in this world" comment. That's like the most quoted section from his emails, which is strange. Maybe besides the virus's engineered comment.
Yeah.
The exchange was among more than 866 pages of Fauci's emails from March and April 2020 that the newspaper obtained through a Freedom of Information Act request. Interesting how it's only emails from March and April.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote 866 pages of email in March and April. That's insane. 866 divided by 60. Let's see. It's about, jeez, it's like what is that? I guess that's only about 15 emails a day, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
You do the math, Gons.
Okay. Sorry. I'll do it.
In the email trove, Fauci also corresponded with an executive at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, a medical director of the National Football League Players Association, and documentary filmmakers working on a Disney-backed documentary film about him. Oh, yeah, we saw that. In his correspondence with Gates, advisor Emilio Emini, the executive, raised concerns about Fauci's health. Quote, "I see you on TV almost every day, and although you continue to have considerable energy, I am seriously worried about you," Emini wrote in an email on April 2nd, 2020. Quote, "The nation and the world absolutely need your leadership." Fauci then responded in the early hours of the following morning saying, quote, "I will try to engage as much as I can given my current circumstances," while adding he was, quote, "enthusiastic about moving forward on a collaborative and hopefully synergistic approach to COVID-19.
Yeah,
Fauci told...
Before you go on, 866 divided by about 60 days there, it's about 14 and a half emails per day. So
dang, that was some pretty good fast math I did, if I do say so myself.
It's not too bad. But that's not, especially if he's just kind of doing quick replies, that's maybe you can get through 14 emails like that in, I don't know, an hour.
I wouldn't know. It takes me a month to send 15 emails.
I know but like with his little quick thank yous and blah, 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 that doesn't take much time.
He's so
working
generous.
so hard though. I don't know where he gets the time. He must have a clone.
Yeah. Fauci told the Washington Post that he has maintained a long relationship with Gates. Uh-oh.
Gates!
Don't want to get too connected with Gates, Fauci, who has been the subject of recent reports that reveal that he allegedly made unwanted advances on female employees at both Microsoft and his foundation.
I love New York Post.
Slipping that little dig in at Gates.
Good job, New York Post. Just to remind everybody who Bill Gates is,
That is very funny.
Yeah.
Oops, what happened here? Oh, sorry about that. Something weird happened. Yeah, well, in about, the two talk about every 2 weeks and remain in touch about how to get COVID-19 vaccines to the rest of the world, he said. The email trove also revealed that Fauci kept in close contact with White House officials over the 2-month period, the newspaper reported. No kidding. Just before Easter, he exchanged emails with Mark Short, Vice President Mike Pence's chief of staff, where he wished Short a peaceful and enjoyable day with your family. What in the world? Why are they pointing this stuff out? It is so strange. It's like New York Post is even getting on the Fauci's a good guy train.
I don't know.
I mean, what is the point of that? He emailed Mike Pence's chief of staff and said, have a peaceful and enjoyable day with your family. Nothing else.
Well,
like, what was the conversation before that? I don't.
Well, number one, doesn't matter. Number two, according to the right, remember Pence betrayed Trump. So,
good call.
So
okay, so they're connecting him with the traitor Pence. Okay,
yes, sorry, I'm getting
that makes more sense.
Got a text from the wife. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, keep going. Fauci, however, would later publicly complain in June that the White House had sidelined him. Quote, as you probably noticed, the task force meetings have not occurred as often lately, and certainly my meetings with the president have been dramatically decreased, he said in an interview with Strat News in June 2020. Fauci also expressed dumbfounded disbelief at the public's fascination with him. In response to an article forwarded to him about his cult following, he replied that it was, quote, truly surreal. Hopefully this all stops soon, Fauci wrote to a colleague. An out-of-context quote. In another email, Fauci forwarded a Google alert notification for his name that contained an article titled, Cuomo Crush and Fauci Fever. Sexualization of these men is a real thing on the internet. Oh, gosh. He's sharing around articles about how people find him sexy. Quote, it will blow your mind. Our society is really totally nuts, Fauci wrote in an email to a redacted recipient, encouraging them to click the link to the article.
It's probably Bill Gates.
Yeah, I wonder if Bill Gates feels a little left out of like the sexy pandemic man club.
Well, at the time, it was, Bill Gates was sort of also seen as a champion. So maybe now he feels left out, but.
Well, I don't think, no, because there was the Cuomo sexuals, and then there was Fauci fever, and those were two sort of, memes on the internet. There was no Gates version of that. He was sort of like a, I guess he was exactly what he is, which is sort of like a weird looking nerdy guy, which is fine. He's married, along with Cuomo and Fauci, I guess, at that case. I don't know. Poor Gates. Nobody thought he was sexy during the pandemic. Fauci told the newspaper that at one point during the pandemic, he was receiving around 1,000 emails a day. Oh, replying to 15 of them doesn't sound so generous anymore, does it? Also, where do you find Fauci's email address? I gotta get that. Quote, I was getting every single kind of question, mostly people who are a little bit confused about the mixed messages that were coming out of the White House and wanted to know what's the real scoop, Fauci said of the correspondence. Quote, I have a reputation that I respond to people when they ask for help, even if it takes a long time, and it's very time consuming, but I do, he added. Still such a nice guy, Gons.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. I mean, maybe it was I don't know. Maybe they're trying to the premise here being like, he played the nice guy, but we know he's evil.
I don't think they're doing that. I don't think New York Post is doing that. Yeah, I mean, I think they pulled the obvious strategy at the beginning with connecting, warming them up a little bit too closely with China. I think the Pence connection was on purpose, but I wonder if there's just not too much to
really dig into.
Now, notice how they pretty much just reported on